Welcome back, Summit Community Group leaders. This is the second video in our leader development series. That first one was all about you, your connection to Christ and to others. And the second one, I just want to take a minute and talk through some group dynamics, right? When people are afraid or nervous about community groups, that's usually what they're afraid of. It's like, well, what are people going to do? And there's, overwhelming personalities and there's shy people. So how do I engage in that? So I'm going to talk through two things today that seem kind of simple, but we all need to grow it. Regardless of how long you've been doing this, you have space to grow, I promise. So I'm going to talk about being present and asking great questions. These two things will help build a foundation for your group to really thrive on. So first, being present. This is vastly more than just like physically showing up, right? If you've ever sat in a room with a significant other or a friend who's just distracted, it's like, oh, they're there. They're physically there, but they are not present, right? You're just like, hello, anything? Just nothing going on, right? They're totally distracted. And you know how that feels, right? That feels pretty terrible. So as a community group leader, the idea of being present with your group is that you show up ready to be aware of them, right? You're watching for their nonverbals. Are they sitting back like arms crossed, maybe frustrated? Are they leaning in and engaged? And as you pay attention to that, you respond accordingly, right? If they're frustrated or seeming to be upset, leaning away, maybe you invite them in, you ask them what's going on. The idea is, as you engage them at wherever place that they happen to be in that moment, that they'll have the safety and vulnerability and that they can grow in that, right? So this could be difficult, this could be hard, especially if our hearts and minds aren't in the right place ahead of time. So I would encourage you every single gathering, before that gathering, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour before, take some time and just sit in prayer. Ask God to speak to your heart, to refresh you, to renew you, so that you can show up truly ready to engage them, truly ready to see the people in your group, right? To love well, we always have to be filled up first, which goes back again to video 1. So be filled up, be engaged when you show up. And then 2, ask great questions. This is what makes conversation flow, which is what helps build relationships. It avoids those dead spots and the uncomfortableness that can happen, right? It really keeps people engaged. So I'm just gonna punch through 5 really practical ways to do this. So 1, ask open-ended questions. We all know this in theory, but if you ever asked a teenager how their day was, right? And they're just like, fine. It's like, well, that should have been an open-ended question, right? So maybe ask bigger questions. Well, where did you see God move in that? What happened in that? What did you experience, right? Create room for people to talk and share. 2, ask follow-up questions. When somebody says something that's interesting or incomplete, or maybe that even bothers you, just say more about that. Tell me more about that. Give that person space to dig a little bit deeper and share a little bit more. 3, maybe the most difficult one for me personally, is never underestimate the power of silence. Let the moment breathe, right? Just because somebody finishes speaking doesn't mean you have to jump in or try to solve it or like overtime. Just let it breathe. Who knows what else they have that they might want to share that they were just hesitating, or what somebody else in the group is going to share. So don't be afraid of that silence. 4, don't interrupt, which I know is like you're in a conversation, don't interrupt. But we do this. Sometimes just out of our own excitement, like we're enthusiastic about whatever that person is saying. We're like, and we jump in. But what we do is we actually derail what they're saying to talk about what I want to talk about. So don't interrupt. And last, number 5, which goes back to being present, active listening, right? Eye contact with that person. Empathy with that person. You're celebrating if they're celebrating. You're lamenting if they're lamenting. Maybe you're taking notes, right? You're asking follow-up questions from something they said last week or previously. This whole idea of asking great questions, this is what creates that environment that is safe and healthy and life-giving, and creates participation from all personality types. Our over-talkers, our under-talkers, right? It really helps engage everybody. And yes, we absolutely know this is just the very tip of the iceberg when it comes to group dynamics, right? When it comes to loving people and leading people, there will be a lot more to come. We just wanted to give you a little bit of a foundation, a starting place to engage your group well and really move conversation in healthy and life-giving ways. We love you as always. Reach out with any questions and anything that we can do to help.